As I said last week, I guess you didn't watch the show.
They're not supposed to.
You wouldn't know.
They're literally not supposed to take that into account.
I know, but I said we're not living in the future. It would be nice if that was where. And we are way different than we were 20 years ago, 50 years ago. The world is very different, and I've certainly taken my shit from the left for pointing out constantly that they are hyper-focused on race, and when they say things like, racism has never been worse, you're just ridiculous. But we are also not living in the future. Show this map, please. This is what the map could look like in the South, of what it used to look like. See those blue? Those are blue districts. This is what it's going to look like now. There are districts that have been carved out so that minorities are represented, for sure. That is racial gerrymandering. It has to happen until we are living in the present, in the future, and we're not. And if you think that you're going to take away all these black representatives in the United States Congress without repercussions, I mean, you take away that many and have them, black people have scant representation in Congress, this is not going to stay.
The new governor of Florida is likely going to be black. You know, this is white Republicans are voting him in.
Look, first of all, let me just say this. Look, we have black representatives, as you well know, who represents largely white. I mean, Utah has had 2 blacks, not 1. They're Republicans. And by the way, if you can elect more black Republicans, go ahead. I'll elect more black Democrats. We got a black Democrat out of Rhode Island. We got a black Democrat in Washington State. Ain't nothing wrong with being black and living in Nebraska or Kansas. That's okay. What I'm saying that in the South, where half the black population reside, we should not be told that we...
Yes, in 2026, we are still focused on issues linking to race. I'm shocked. If you take a look at what is happening, redrawing these maps, it has actually exposed a lot of these people. Yes, the Supreme Court came out the other time and said this should not be happening, but instead, it has stirred up Democrats to a level I've not seen in a while. If you take a look at this tweet, Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats are literally freaking out, right? Because of a stunning 2026 redistricting map nationwide. If it pans out, Republicans could pick up 8 to 12 seat, Virginia block, Ohio +2, Missouri this. Okay, if you take a look at these.
Our message to Florida Republicans is F around and find out.
Well, the Virginia Supreme Court has dropped the hammer and declared Virginia's redistricting scheme to be unconstitutional and struck it down. That's right. The court's decision states that proper constitutional procedure wasn't followed, I believe, and as such, the maps are null and void, and the state must return to its old maps. Now, Democrats were certain their plan would secure a 10-to-1 advantage for Democrats over Republicans, but with today's ruling, Virginia will remain 6-5 Democrat to Republican. And of course, the left is losing its collective mind, including some popular leftist pundits calling for violence. The left is so predictable and they are so used to getting their way with the media that they literally think they can ignore the Constitution and the will of a huge swath of Virginia voters. Well, the courts proved to them today that they cannot. But their arrogance continues to be just astounding. And I believe that the left had better wake up before they F around and find out that America is sick of them being woke. Good call, Virginia Supreme Court.
This is someone I know to love race baiting. The Supreme Court gutted Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, allowing states to now systematically dilute the power of black and brown voters through gerrymandering. This is discriminatory and it goes back to the racist history of this country. Immediately, someone replied to her, the Supreme Court didn't gut Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The rule you can't draw congressional district based primarily on race. That is not discriminatory. That is the Constitution saying every American gets equal protections under the law, not special racial curve out to guarantee your party's power. Democrats have treated black and brown voters like a permanent plantation for decades with this gerrymander scheme. Now that the court said no more cheating with skin color, you scream racism like clockwork. Your entire political existence depends on keeping minority divided, angry, and dependent, pathetic. This is beautiful. This is a good reply to this lady.
We're going to win back the House of Representatives in November. We are only 3 seats short. We historically overperformed in November, and that's one of the reasons why Republicans are in panic mode. Remember, Ali, when we took the House back in 2018, we were 24 seats short. We crossed over that hurdle, and in fact, in 2018, we flipped a total of 40 seats. So we're going to take back control of the House of Representatives. We're going to continue to make clear to the American people that we will lower their high cost of living, fix a broken healthcare system, and clean up the corruption that we're seeing in the country, in the Congress, certainly with the Supreme Court, and deal with the most corrupt administration in American history. Now, we're going to need nationwide judicial reform. We're going to need nationwide electoral reform. We're going to need nationwide campaign finance reform, which is why we have to take the House back.
Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Missouri, Ohio, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, and soon South Carolina will all draw their maps on the eve of the election, and no one will stop them. Meanwhile, California succeeded by the skin of its teeth after millions came out to vote and passed the referendum by a 2/3 margin, and when Virginia voters did the same, even that wasn't enough. No one will bat an eye when Florida's Supreme Court ignores its own constitution, but an I not being dotted, a T not being crossed in blue Virginia is enough to silence the voices of the 3 million Virginians who cast ballots just a few weeks back. The double standard is not just infuriating, it is anti-democracy. This is not what a healthy or even functioning democracy looks like. I'm going to read an excerpt from my new book, The Day After, which was written expressly because Democrats do not wield power while Republicans abuse their power. Quote, "How have Republicans managed to skew democracy so much? Because they pursue power over principle, whereas too many Democrats pursue fairness and good government. Republicans controlled the drawing of 191 of the districts in 2024, compared to only 75 controlled by Democrats. The rest of the House districts were drawn by commissions, courts, or divided state governments. In the Democratic strongholds of California and New York, there are independent redistricting commissions. In Texas and Florida, there is no such thing. In Republican-controlled districts, there is little legal recourse to correct the maps."
To say we're winning, the Republicans are winning the redistricting, I think we're catching up. And if I can point to the facts on, look, let's go to Illinois. You got a 14-3 ratio. Washington, you got a 10-2 ratio. New England has like a 21-0 ratio. California, like, out of 52 representatives, they're going to have maybe 5-6 Republicans. You know, in Texas, we redistricted. We're 30-10. Florida's now going to be 20-7. Like, Democrats have been winning this battle for a long time.
I'm not sure about.
Damn. All right.
Yesterday was the best Friday in a very long time.
Democrats in this state are now doing this. Like you can see here, this is extremely concerning. I knew they will not stop at this, but I really don't know if there is something they can do about this. Let's observe in the few days ahead to see the magic Democrats are going to put out, because at this point, I don't see other possibility. Looking at what this man said here, nothing but the truth. I don't want to prolong the video. I think I'm going to end here. As of the short clips you see at the end, that is for the white algorithm. You can always skip.
We're winning the redistricting. Technicality or not, it's a huge loss for Democrats.
They're everywhere, all the time, in connection with the redistricting battle.
Obama was in on this, and now
lovers all used to say that the South will rise again. Is this what they meant? This is not about elections. This is about white people in the South making sure that black people have no voice.
You know, you get caught in a moment, and you can't always.
their temper
passes the 1,005.
He's always hip up the videos.
Sidewalk.
Right. Spencer Pratt, who's running for mayor of Los Angeles.
Who's doing a great job.
Unable to laugh at him.
Inside, they started.
It'll be
more access to the leader of the free world.
This week, which was the state of Virginia, they gerrymandered the state.
Redistricting. It's going to lose their congressional representation. How do you think?
Minutes until the first.
I have 300.
Well, I said Democrat.
Let's stop taking our voting rights away.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. I've been texting with folks.